What's up, everybody? This is King Bay doing another video, and I want people to, this is another critical thinking exercise that I want people to understand. These videos I'm going to do are going to be short and precise and straight to the point. Some people have the question, hey, King Bay, if we're not doing commerce, what are we doing? This is where I question you and have you understand, know thyself, as the Bible and the Quran tell us. So let's get straight to the point. The word commerce means all commerce which may be lawfully regulated by Congress. So what I want you to understand, that commerce is defined by Congress. You have to understand there is non-commercial activities. Everything starts with intent and purposes. So be familiar with this term, all intent and purposes, so that you can understand what your intent is and what's the purpose of why you are doing such actions. Let's go to some non-commercial verbiage. Non-commercial, not having a commercial objective. So it's talking about intent, not intended to make a profit. So commerce is dealing with, everybody must understand the intent. If your intent is to do commerce, then that's what you intend to do. If it's not to intend to do commerce, then it's not commercial. So let's go to some language. And these are things that you need to look at for us understanding what your commercial objective is. And we're talking about non-commercial contracts. Everything dealing with intent and purpose. Okay, let's go here. Non-commercial means a use of real property which is primarily restricted to full-time residential purposes by owner or upon a long-term rental basis in which is not commercial use as defined. Okay? You define the intent. You understand there is also a non-commercial license. Let's go here on the side. Non-commercial, since you are provided with a non-commercial, non-institutional license, you are hereby presented and warranted that you will not use the software for commercial purposes and that you will not use the software on the behalf of whatever thing you want they talking about. So you have to understand, know thyself, understand what you're doing just right. What you need to understand, what you need to be doing is understanding how to contract, family. We can get into all type of non-commercial activity and contracts. Non-commercial activity. Let's continue, family. I'm just showing you some examples. So here's another example. Non-commercial means the gain entry must not be used to generate any form of compensation or revenue. Must not be used by or on behalf of any third party. Must not be used for advertising, marketing, or promotional material and services. Must not be used in connection with any other products or service. It must not be used for any other commercial purpose whatsoever. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You define everything. Let's continue, family. Let's just continue. Let me see. I want to talk to you about what they call activities of daily living. So let's go here. The activities of daily living is a term used to collectively describe fundamental skills required to independently care for oneself, such as eating, bathing, and mobility. The term activity of daily living first coined by Sidney Katz in 1950. This is what I'm saying. You don't have to be doing something in a commercial capacity. You define the purpose and the use of what your activity is. It's for daily activities of daily living. For you to maintain living expenses. Do you understand what I'm getting you guys to understand? It's for living expenses. Your activity is non-commercial in nature. You have to define this for yourself. This is what you get with the masterclass with King L. Bay. It's levels to this, family. Stop listening to people who do not know how to critically think. This is a critical thinking exercise, family. So, we're going to go here. 1 U.S. Code, Section 1, words denoting numbers, gender, and so forth. In determining the meaning of the act of Congress, this is why you have to understand congressional intent, the act, unless the context indicates otherwise. So, if they don't tell you otherwise, something different, this is what they mean. But I want you to look at the verbiage, as it is confusing in nature. Words denoting the singular includes and apply to several persons, parties, or things. Words importing to the plural include the singular. Words importing the masculine gender include the female as well. Words used in the present tense include the future as well as the present. So how do you understand what the hell they're talking about if they say that the future is the present is the future, the male is the female, and all of this? How do you understand and interpret it? They the only ones can interpret it. So you trying to interpret the statutes by your own cognitive reasoning. That's why Jesus said, never lean to your own understanding. It's their intent. Why are you taking in their concepts, their ideologies, their language when you don't even know what the hell they're saying? You are depending on statutes and codes to define something that they letting you know is confusing in nature. The word insane in insane person shall include every idiot, insane person, and person non-compos mentis. So what they're telling you is that you're an idiot for trying to unravel their legal nonsense, their legal jargon. They tell you that. Let's continue, family. Not trying to. So this is what you got to understand. Commerce is directly related to military. So you got to let them know that it is non-military in use. You're doing commerce and it's not specifically for any military purposes. You got to understand when you contract, or you understand how to contract, what you're negotiating is you understanding your intent. You define the jurisdiction. You define. Do you understand? This is what it's talking about, jurisdiction of one's own rights, speaking his own language. Contract, your ability to contract, decide your fate. Your inability to contract, if you don't know your rights, then you shall not have any. Let's continue, family. Let's get into some more, right? Let's go to some definitions that I have compiled. So, let's talk about a few words. We're gonna try to make these videos super short. So the word consumer, a person who buys. This is the language that already gets you in trouble. Buys, or service for personal. So if you're buying something and they let you know, that's one of the things that you want to understand. So it's buying and selling of goods. That is commercial. Even if you're a consumer, you are acting in a commercial capacity. So understand the language that you're using even when you're using it. Even though a person, right, who's a consumer is all services for family or household use with no intent for resale, a natural person who uses products for personal rather than business doesn't mean you're not still engaging in commerce. So let's go here. The language is going to dictate everything. Let's continue, family. Let's continue. This is why you need your brother King Bay to help you understand these matters. Domestic. Now let's talk about domestic. Of relating to one's own country, of relating to one's own jurisdiction. So you got to understand the word domestic for non-commercial, non-military, domestic use only. Do you understand that? These are terms that can be utilized. Do you understand your sovereignty lies in your ability, right of choice, of free will? Is free, unencumbered. Do you understand what the word free means? Let's continue, family. I'm not going to make this video long. I'm going to make it short. I'm going to make it sweet. It's levels to this. I don't even want to talk about exchange, because exchange can be in commercial, is always the act of transferring interest. So that's something that we don't want to engage in exchange. So negotiable or exchangeable instruments, you got to understand the commercial language. Okay, let's continue, family. Free, I want you to understand, it's something, a free trade, I want you to understand, is free. I want you to understand having legal or political rights, okay, free, enjoying political and civil liberty, a free citizen, a free populace, not subject to constraint or domination of another. So statutes and codes are domination of your rights. If you can't think for yourself and you're depending on a code or statute, then you don't know thyself and shall be dominated. Enjoying personal freedom, emancipation. So if you emancipated, that means you have your own right of free choice. Characterized by choice rather than compulsion or constraint. Free will. I want you to understand it's free. If you activated in free trade, acting in free trade, you better know what you're saying. You better understand the language, because if you start using language, you're going to traverse yourself back in commercial activity. This is why you have to understand contract law. And you have to understand trigger language, that you need to understand contract and critically think. Another word, unburdened. Meaning, you can't nobody burden your intent. So if you're regulating in a federal zone and no statute can burden your intent. The land was free of encumbrances. Do you understand what this means? Not confined by force or restraint. So when you see a statue and it's is compelling you to a duty or obligation, that is a force. That is a restraint on your personal liberty. Another definition is unrestricted or unregulated. So if Congress can't regulate it, if Congress can't regulate your intent, and you have the right to understand what you're doing, and if you express and negotiate that this is for non-commercial activities associated with activities of daily living, non-military, only domestic in nature, then you define everything for yourself. But there's other descriptive language that you must understand the intent of what you're expressing. You're not depending on Congress to define anything for you. You're understanding your ability to contract and negotiate. To liberate, to remove a person or animal from constraint or burden. Family. Understand what this is about. Understanding, don't get caught in the commerce matrix. You can do activities that is non-commercial, family, so that you can live and feed your family. You have to work, you have to eat, you need gas and electric, you got to have a car. Things that you need, you can still do. Understand negotiation. This is one of the last terms. Negotiate. I want you to understand this word. It's very important. To communicate with another party for the purpose of reaching an understanding. Do you get that? Do you understand what I'm saying to y'all, family? This video is to help shed some light for those who are stuck and who cannot unravel, who've been programmed to only think commercially. This, you have to, it's your thought that's got you stuck in a commercial activity. Let's go here. Now, I want you to understand, know thyself. Excuse me, everyone. Apologize for that. Be aware of your own limitations. Know what you are capable of doing. So, I want to read something to you that I found very interesting. Okay, and know thyself as it relates to this over here, right? Know thyself. The ancient Greek aphorism, know thyself. And it goes into the different translations. Sautions with, okay, and then it says it's one of the Delphic maxims and was the first of the three inscribed on the pronaos, okay, of the temple of Apollo at Delphi, according to the Greek writing Pausanias. The two maxims that follow, know thyself, were nothing to excess. Nothing to excess, right? And surety brings ruin. So, if you are a surety of something, and it says surety brings ruin, I want you to understand they always want you to be some type of surety for something. This creates war. Understanding that surety creates war. Okay? Understand the purpose of surety when you're dealing with your dealings. Surety brings ruins. This was thousands of years ago for those to understand. So, the Latin phrase know thyself is given in these terms. Right? These are Latin. So, you have to understand, know thyself, know that thy is not a surety. Your labor is not surety, and you will not pose surety. This is why we're dealing in free trade. So, you got to understand these terms as it relates to this. One more step, one thing else I want to point out. It says commerce and trade. So, if commerce, why would they have an and trade? So commerce can't be trade. Commerce is a particular activity, and trade is a particular activity as it relates to trade and commerce. So let's click here, and it just take you here, right? So everything is about intent. Constructions and definitions, intent of the chapter, and they tell you about commerce, and they tell you. So they go through all of these different definitions, but they tell you what commerce is, and let's look at it. The word commerce means all commerce which may lawfully be regulated by Congress. That is commerce. Period. By their own intent. So this video is meant to be short. Peace and love, everybody. This is King L. Bay, bringing you understanding how to contract. If you're stuck in the matrix, call King L. Bay. I can help you think about how to critically think. Peace and love, everyone.